You're listening to Marketing Mavens on Good Morning Delhi with Sarthak.
That's exactly what you're doing. And what we're doing, of course, is getting the experts to come in and break down the stories behind the ideas. Because when you know what the idea is, just makes the taste of what you're watching as far as the ad campaigns are concerned or the communication is concerned, just makes it so much tastier, no? And talking of tasty, it's always been tasty conversations, a bit of a reunion of sorts with the one and only Lord Roshun. Roshun Povaiah is here, and I couldn't be happier to welcome the editor, now the editor of Financial Express Online, but an automotive beast at heart. One of the first who actually started automotive journalism in India, also part of A&M, one of the most iconic advertising and marketing magazines that we've had. He was sort of a pioneer, wasn't it, Roshun?
Yes, absolutely, Sarthak. That was something I read in college, and I was really thrilled to be, writing for them right after college.
Oh, it was so
great
cool.
days.
And that was attitude laden writing, reporting, because it was focused, but it also broke down the idea, did it not?
Yes, absolutely. And those were the days of very classy ads, and you kind of dissected every single ad and figured there was an element in every ad that you could talk about.
Yeah, and it was that whole childlike desire ki take it apart to see what makes it run. And talking of run, of course, we are going to be talking about automotive ads because both of us are passionate. Me, nearly not as much as Roshun because he's taken apart engines. He's forgotten too many engines, more engines than we can hope to remember. But it's the automotive ads, and we are, of course, going to start with the golden age of advertising, so to speak. Something that's very close to my heart as well because I'm an owner. The Tata ads. No?
Yes, the early 90s, the late 80s, early 90s, where I would think the golden age for car advertising at that point of time.
Absolutely.
And Tata, absolutely iconic.
Yeah.
Because that one tagline, which they're using even today, reclaim your life.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And the way they built on that one idea, no? I mean, the primacy of the idea was so gloriously portrayed. You were saying that it was Piyush Pandey and O&M, wasn't it?
Yes, it was O&M, and that one catchphrase in that ad, which was, I always wanted to quit work on a Monday morning. I think that resounds with so many of us in the corporate rat race.
Absolutely. A whole generation. I remember I was around 6 months into my first media job. And when I saw that man standing with that expression and that orchestral music, the choral section going, and he said, I always wanted to quit on a Monday morning. And I was like, this is the car that I want. Because it wasn't about the car, was it?
Absolutely. And that's the thing about those ads. The product was very subtly placed in the ad, but you kind of related to the idea in that ad.
Absolutely.
And that kind of tugged at your heartstrings. You bought cars with your heart.
Absolutely. There. And it was the culmination of a story. It was actually not a car, but a story that you bought. And that story was on four wheels. And I still remember the red Safari jumping over that dune, man. It still remains something that is etched so firmly in but this wasn't the only one, actually.
No, so Tata, in fact, at that point of time had a series of ads, and all of them hit it out of the park.
Absolutely.
I remember the other Safari ad for the Safari 4x4, where it's a close-up and you see this woman asking for a lift, and this guy is driving a Safari. He pulls up and he says, like, give me a lift. And then they zoom out to see that he's actually in the middle of a river. There's a kayak which is stuck over there, and she gets into it. And you go, that's when, these days there's so many off-roaders, 4x4.
Yeah.
But those days, seeing an ad like that, you wanted to get a 4x4.
Absolutely. And it said, make your own road.
Make your own road. That was the tagline.
And by the way, the numbers were great, 136 bhp. That's what they were flaunting, wasn't it?
No, in fact, this 4x4 Safari was only 90 bhp.
Oh, this is a 91.
The 136 also was another iconic ad. That's the first time Tata had a powerful motor in the Safari. I mean, these days we kind of laugh at 136 bhp, but 136 bhp petrol engine, a 2.1 liter petrol engine.
Yes.
And the ad was about these two guys with a very bored expression going on a roller coaster while everybody else is screaming. And then they come out and they walk into the parking lot. They get into their Safari, and then they scream. Well,
Yeah.
they take off with 136 bhp.
Yes, but it wasn't about the numbers. It was about the experience, and I think Tata captured that with the Safari. They captured that so beautifully. And then there was, of course, the Mahindra as well, which we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, so one more Tata, I would think there are two more iconic Tata ads. The other one was the Tata Sierra. Now, that's a vehicle that a lot of people even today look at and say, like, I wish Tata brings the Sierra back.
Absolutely.
The tagline for that was, takes the rough with the smooth.
Yes.
And that probably was... even before autonomous cars became a thing,
Absolutely.
that ad actually had the Sierra driving in autonomous mode because, he comes in, parks his car in the porch and goes in to change into his outdoor gear. Meanwhile, the car takes off and gets all dirty and comes back and picks him up. Right?
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, absolutely. And that was the thing. I mean, they are, of course, bringing the Sierra back as an electric vehicle
As
now.
an EV now. And then there was also the Tata Indica, where they were selling a dream with a song by Lobo. The song was I'd Love You to Want Me.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So
absolutely.
where the guy is like driving along and he sees a car broken down on the side of the road, and there's a woman again asking for a lift.
Yeah.
So she taps on his window and asks for a lift, and for the next 30 seconds he plays his entire future life in his head. He takes her out on a date and they get married, they have kids, and then he's brought back to reality when the mother-in-law is telling him something in the back seat.
Yeah, that's and this was also the time when there was a lot of negative publicity about the Indica breaking down and all of that, and
Yes.
they wanted to bring it out that it's a car that's for the family.
In fact, that's what the tagline was: more car per car.
More car per car. Yes, absolutely. We've been talking about the Tata ads, and yes, we've gone overboard. But then, what's the point of having a passion if you don't go overboard, hai na?
Absolutely.
And now, of course, you have a compilation of the most. Please tell us.
No, I mean, those days advertising, you just sold one single premise in the ad. You didn't have to talk about everything. It's got automatic climate control, it's got power folding mirrors, it's got this, it's got that, which is what ads these days are trying to do. I don't really see any iconic car ad today.
Absolutely.
But back in the day, they just sold one single premise. For example, Maruti Suzuki.
Yeah.
The ad with that little Sardar
Sardarji.
kid, playing with his Maruti, going all around the house,
Yeah.
and then the dad then stops and like, "What are you doing, puttar?"
हाँ,
And he's like,
बस का
"की
पुत्तर."
की करा पापा पेट्रोल खत्म नहीं होता." So,
And the car wasn't there. It was actually a toy car that he was running around.
Absolutely. They didn't even show the product.
Absolutely.
And that itself was the premise.
Of
Fuel
course.
efficiency. And Maruti till date sells fuel efficiency
efficient,
because their
absolutely.
current series of ads is kitna deti hai.
Absolutely. I still remember that ad where there was this general who was standing in front of a rocket, and the rocket, the features of the rocket are being explained, and he's looking on very bored. It's like, okay. And then finally, any question, and he asks, "Kitna
Kitna
deti
deti
hai?"
hai. Exactly.
No product. This is
No
not
product.
a product. This is a rocket.
Exactly.
But it's about a car.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then the other thing that Maruti prides themselves on is their service network.
Yes.
And that again was brought about very subtly. You have these, two guys driving around in Ladakh in a gypsy.
Yeah.
And, one guy asks the other, he's looking at the map and he's like, "Where are you going?" And he's like, basically nowhere. They're kind of lost
Yeah.
somewhere in Ladakh. And then they're driving around and they see this young Ladakhi boy, walking
Yeah.
on the side and like, "Arey, kancha, kancha." And all. Then they ask him like, "Yahan khane peene ka koi milega?" Like, nahi. Rehne ka jagah hai? Nahi. Then the other guy like, "Puchna." So then he asks like, "Yahan koi Maruti service station hai kya?" Like, "Haan hai."
And it points to the highest service station, and they had actually
A signboard.
that thing about and it was actually it was an actual service station that
Yes,
they had.
yes.
The highest service station. Brilliant way to push that one idea about the fact that there is a service network. There was a brilliant idea of pushing that one ad about fuel efficiency, wasn't it?
Absolutely. So speaking of fuel efficiency, then the other iconic ad is Hero Honda's.
Of course.
Fill it, shut it,
Forget it. Yeah.
Single premise ad. That's
Absolutely.
it. Forget about any of the other features on the bike.
Yeah.
One thing, 80 kilometers per liter. That's what
Absolutely.
they were selling.
And it was actually a technologically fine bike. I mean, there was nothing wrong technologically with it. They could have pushed the fact that, comfortable seating and all of that. No. Fill it, shut it, forget it. You buy it for the 80 kilometers per liter. Hai na?
Similarly, a rival company, the Suzuki Samurai.
Yes.
Yeah. No problem.
No problem with the Japanese tourist.
What an amazing ad. I mean, there's this guy standing next to a bike. He's a Japanese guy. So this guy assumes, Japanese bike, Japanese standing next to it must be his bike. He comes in like, how is it? This, like, no problem, no problem. He has only one word to say, and that's no problem.
And the beauty of it, Roshan, was that they actually, ticked off all the features.
Yes.
Fuel efficiency, good. Suspension, very good. So he says, fuel efficiency, no problem. Suspension, no problem.
Then he's like,
can I take a rest ride?
No problem.
No problem. He goes away, and there's this guy who comes running from the back saying, and the tagline was Suzuki Samurai, the no problem
bike. Exactly. Yeah. So that's what I think. So a lot of these single premise things. For example, even Mahindra did it with the Xylo.
Of course.
Atul Kasbekar and the Happy Legs campaign.
And the Happy Legs campaign with the models who were very comfortably sitting in the Xylo and going to a lovely beach for photo sessions and all of that.
Single premise.
Absolutely.
Space.
Absolutely.
Nothing else. It's not talking about any of the other features of the car, just the space.
Yeah, absolutely. What are we talking about now, Roshan?
How car companies actually got celebrities to endorse their cars, and some of them were iconic and they stuck. For example, Shah Rukh Khan and the Santro.
Absolutely.
Right? Now, the ad per se didn't really stand out, but Shah Rukh Khan's antics with the car, perhaps people, related to that.
Absolutely.
And it was called the complete family car.
Yeah. The tall boy design. The one thing that he used to underline all the time.
Yes.
That he could fit in and all of that, no?
Yeah. And there was one series with Shah Rukh Khan and Preeti Zinta where they're like driving around in two Santros and, she beats him to a parking spot.
Yeah. The whole celebrity angle of the celebrity fighting angle, so to speak, no?
And that was when they were introducing the Santro 1.1 zip drive, I think it was called.
The zip drive, yeah.
So they were trying to say like her car's a little more powerful than your old Santro. Right?
Yeah, and using the lady for it, actually, which was quite interesting as well, wasn't it?
Yes. I mean, we were talking about sexist ads and, men are back just in the previous segment.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about the women coming to the forefront.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You also had another ad with Amitabh Bachchan and Abhishek Bachchan, if you remember that.
The Versa, the Maruti Suzuki Versa, their attempt at making the bigger van cooler, no? Because it was literally their van with the side opening doors and all of that, wasn't it?
Yes. So it was like your car and my car, Amitabh is in front driving and Abhishek is sitting at the back.
As if we could believe that, but that's okay. It was an attempt, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But that was there,
Speaking of, cool cars, there was a car which sold only on the premise of cooling, and this is a car which I think everyone's forgotten, which was the Mahindra Mitsubishi Voyager.
Oh, the Voyager, yes.
Yes. They had a print ad actually, which went out saying Thar desert outside, Shimla inside, and they were just selling the air conditioner 3-row cooling system. That's it.
Now, if there is a unique selling proposition, that is it. India, tropical country, come, we will cool you down while you're traveling around. No problem knowing how powerful it is, no problem. We will get you from point A to B and it'll keep you cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there were a lot of ads which were kind of, you when you see the ad, you kind of think, I've seen this ad before. For example, the Bolero TVC of Mahindra's, it was again shot in Ladakh. Mahindra likes to shoot all their ads in Ladakh. And it has these women playing with a frisbee on the side of Pangong Lake, and then they kind of throw the frisbee and a dog picks it up and runs.
Yeah.
And there's this guy just happens to be there with his Bolero and he's like, come in, we'll go catch the dog. And they drive around in the Bolero, and then, they pick up the frisbee from the dog and all that. And then at the end, you see that the dog is actually his. He had trained it to, pick up the frisbee so he could take the women for a drive.
He could get the ladies, so to speak.
Exactly. Similar ad with dogs was the Maruti Wagoner. The tagline was for the smarter race, where they say in his spare time, this guy trains Doberman. And where you see the ad where the car's like driving with him and this woman, and you think that the Doberman are kind of chasing the car.
Yeah.
But it ends with him actually opening the car and they all jump into the boot.
I remember. Yes. Very interesting thoughts a lot of people had.
Absolutely. So these are some of the iconic car ads back then. Again, a lot of them also sold on feeling. And one I would really remember was the Maruti Esteem ad, where, the tagline was, Dad is always in a good mood when he's driving his new Esteem. It's about this little kid in boarding school, and I relate to that ad because I was in boarding school. He's being picked up by his dad in this brand new Esteem, and the dad's smiling and driving around, and he's asking him his marks. So have your results come? Like, how much do you get in English? 40. Hindi 48. Maths 38, So, and then he stops the car, and then the kid's thinking, the problem with this is we'll be home soon.
Yeah. Yeah. Finally, when you quit, what was your designation, Roshan, there?
I was deputy editor at that time.
Deputy editor. Breaking down the ads and the attitude, and that was, as you said, I mean, for all of us actually who were going through college, that was one of the magazines that we had to go to newsstands to pick up magazines at that point of time, or subscribe, you know. So yeah, we were talking about automotive ads, and Roshan's been sharing some absolutely incredible nuggets, and he's got some more, right, Roshan?
Absolutely. In fact, back then advertising was bold, and you really didn't have people picking out, gender equality and all of these politically correct ads at that point of time.
So
the filters, yes. They were not there. In fact, some ads were straight out sexist, I would call them now.
Absolutely.
Such as the Bajaj Pulsar ad. It's a boy. Definitely male was the tagline.
Definitely male was the tagline. Yes.
Yeah, and even the ad, the TVC also showed the bike parked over there, and it would turn and look when a woman walked by.
Yeah.
So
and you can't get more sexist than that.
Exactly.
But it was like, as you have to place the messaging in context.
Yes.
Those were times when the whole emancipation was on its way. It hadn't reached the levels of maturity that it has in these times. So it was actually par for the course.
Yes, Maruti also has indulged in something like that,
Yes.
and that too in the late 2000s.
Absolutely.
They had the SX4 ad which said "Men are back."
Yeah.
And here, I mean, that's a bold move, because you're actually singling out a certain audience, and you're filtering the women away, saying that women don't stay away from this car.
Absolutely.
Men are back.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And the ad for that actually had a little bit of road rage in it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Where this guy's picking pangas with a truck.
Ah.
With an SX4.
Absolutely. It was one of those things, no, ki bhai machismo. What is machismo? Gadi taking panga with truck and the whole anger bit of it, but it was messaging.
Yeah.
It was messaging, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Speaking of this kind of strong messaging, Mahindra had ads about the armed forces, right? When they used to make the MM540, which was licensed from Jeep.
That's right.
So they had a tagline which said, like, those whom you rely on the Jeep, and they had this. It was a print campaign where they had this army person standing right next to the Mahindra 540.
Absolutely.
And similarly, they had another ad which probably a sequel to this one, which went where a similar person standing next to the 540, and it had the tagline that said, "Would you let your daughter marry the man who drives the Jeep?" That's again bold.
Yes, absolutely. To use an understatement, it is certainly bold. But there were some wonderful choices of music as well, considering we're a radio station,
Yes. In fact, the jingles really stick in your mind.
Yes.
For example, I think the most iconic would be Hamara Bajaj.
Absolutely.
Right?
Buland Bharat ki buland tasveer.
Tasveer. Exactly. That whole patriotism,
Absolutely.
the flavor that it had.
Killed it with it. Like you felt,
Hamara Bajaj.
हम स्कूटर चलाएंगे, हम अपने देश के बनेंगे, बिल्कुल एकदम full.
And
you felt it.
Yes. And Hero Motocorp, at that time Hero Honda, they also came up with Desh Ki Dhadkan.
Absolutely.
The pulse of the nation.
Absolutely.
Right? So, and that was a song by, I think, KK, while the Hamara Bajaj was by A.R. Rahman.
Yes.
So fantastic jingles, and they stuck in your head.
Absolutely.
Right? You could hear it on radio, you could see it on TV, and you would still relate to it.
Yeah, the recall factor was massive, off the charts, I tell you.
And of course, even before that was Royal Enfield's Bullet.
That's right.
It started just the beat, duk 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 duk, which is like,
the iconic duk 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 of the Bullet.
Exactly.
And I still remember it. Ye bullet meri jaan manzilon ka nisha.
Exactly.
Zindagi ek safar chalna shamo seher. Ye bullet, ye bullet, ye bullet, ye bullet. And this guy actually going through the fields with his mooch and all of that.
Exactly. So again, macho ads there again.
Yeah, man.
And forget helmet and not being politically correct. No one was wearing a helmet in that entire ad. Right? Today we are talking road safety, helmet.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Your bullet hai. Kya baat hai? Meri jaan hai. No problem. And you also are a bullet fan, no? You've got the bullet now.
I had a bullet. Now I've moved on to the Interceptor, which is part of Royal Enfield. Same thing.
Technically, RE hai. So yeah, if you remember any of those, you could share them with us, and we could add that to our wonderful advertising vocabulary that we're enunciating on Marketing Mavens with the wonderful Roshun Povaiah. Roshun, if people were to want to ask you about all of these, do you have like an Instagram handle or anywhere people can get in touch with you?
It's at Roshun Povaiah. That's my Instagram handle, but I access it only at night because it's very distracting otherwise.
And Roshun is spelled Roshun, so it will not be difficult to find. What's difficult to find is the time to take a break and come right back, but we'll have to, no? I mean, professionalism and all of that. Stay, no?